afternoon, everyone. This is my teaching demo, which is continuously demonstrate the intermediate level, and the lecture will be last for 10 minutes. Today, I'm going to introduce the English loan words in Korean. The reason I introduced some English loan words in Korean is to boost your confidence, and I think personally it will be more easy for you to memorize or understand Korean vocabulary if you pronounce like similar pronunciations, or you already know the meaning of these words in English. So, loan words is called 차용어 in Korean, and there are a lot of English loan words in Korean. For example, this is coffee. Coffee means coffee in English. So basically the meanings are the same, but the pronunciation is different. This one, can you read, Marie?
햄버거.
Good, well done. Then this one is Sophie?
텔레비전.
Yes, good job. So as you can see, there are a lot of loan words in the Korean language, and then I'd like to encourage you to find some loan words in Korean outside of the classroom, and to remember some new vocabulary that you've already known from your own language. So I'll move on to the consonant assimilations in Korean. I think I observed some difficulties from my students, that because of this consonant assimilation phenomenon in Korean, a lot of people, especially foreign students, think it's very difficult to pronounce some Korean words because of consonant assimilations. Because sometimes each syllables actually doesn't pronounce as the same sound of each phonemes. Such as this word, let's look at this word together. Literally it's called 갓이. But you wouldn't, I suppose that you would never heard this word and this pronunciation from native speaker of Korean. Because Korean speakers would pronounce 같이. Because the reason is that this T, ticket, it's very similar sound to English T, but ticket in Korean assimilates this consonant sound, 이응. So that's why it becomes ticket, and 이응 assimilates the sound like 칠. So instead of we pronounce 갓이, it sounds very unnatural for Korean speakers. We pronounce 같이. So these consonants move towards to the right hand sound, and assimilates to the word 같이. Maria, would you pronounce this word, please?
같이.
Yes, good. Good job. And last, I'm going to introduce some useful verb phrase in Korean. So today I'm going to explain 뭐뭐 하고 싶다. 뭐뭐 보고 싶다. That means in English want to. So 커피를 마시고 싶어요 means I want to have some coffee. So 하고 싶다 is infinitive form of equivalent to English want to. But we have some honorifics of each verb phrase in Korean. And then this is why one of the reasons that foreign students think it's very difficult to understand some Korean verbs because of different honorifics. So for example, 고 싶다 is the original verb phrase, but Korean people would speak 뭐뭐 하고 싶어요 or 싶습니다. Those two forms are more formal, and this is called honorific. So please be careful that when you meet Korean people, it's always better to be polite. I mean, of course, in English, it's always better to be polite to other people. So instead of saying, for example, 먹고 싶다, it sounds quite impolite to the speaker. So please use either 싶어요 or 싶습니다. So these are the verb suffix. So each verb has these verb suffixes in Korean. The suffixes are always the same, two form of honorifics. I'll demonstrate an example sentence in English, and I will let you guys to write in Korean to the board. So the example sentence is, I want to eat a hamburger. Yeah, it's a little bit different. I mean, English sentence is totally different totally different from Korean sentence. That's because please look at this circle, which is an English article A. In Korean language, we don't have an article. And then this pronoun I, in the Korean language, we sometimes actually drop the pronoun. So it's a correct sentence if you say want to eat a hamburger instead of saying I want to eat a hamburger. And then can you see the sentence? Do you know? Does anybody know the sentence structure of Korean language? Let's look at it. This is subject, and this is verb phrase in English, and this is object. Do you know the difference, anyone, about the Korean sentence structure, Sophie?
Korean sentence structure is opposite from English one.
Yes, good. How opposite?
Korean tend to put the object next to subject.
Yes, good. So yes, Korean sentences consist of subject, object, and a verb. So it's called SOV language. But English is SVO language. Okay. Just before I give you guys the next homework, is there any volunteer to write this English sentence into Korean? Any volunteers?
Can I?
Okay. Okay, Sophie.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
In Korean.
Yes.
Noon.
Very good. As you can see, everybody, Sophie, well done. Yeah, Sophie wrote using a formal sentence, which is 먹고 싶습니다, instead of writing 먹고 싶다, which is really good. So Sophie seems understand the basic structure of Korean language. So I'd like to give you some assignment. Just like the Sophie wrote this sentence, I'll give a scenario. The scenario is to introduce American food, whatever you like, to your Korean friend. Please write in Korean and use this verb phrase 먹고 싶다, which means want to. So please write down 3 sentences to introduce American food to your Korean friend. This is the homework for next week. Thank you for your attention today.
감사합니다.
감사합니다.
네.
다음에 뵐게요.
다음에 뵐게요.